Maybe someday we will be two people meeting again for the first time. The quiet of the room was deafening, except for the occasional footsteps of hospital staff that roamed the halls outside. You felt a tightening in your chest, despondent after listening to Midoriya's sense of reason. He laid in the hospital bed, now freed from the casts across his limbs, and had been conscious to hold visits to his room for some time. Family members held priority over everyone else. However, he had personally requested to speak with you after he had finally been able to see his mother. Your fists clenched in your lap while you tried to suppress this overwhelming feeling. A mess of anger, sadness, and guilt. It burned your insides while your lips trembled, biting your inner lip to halt it from showing. Still, this passionate sensation bubbled inside before the rough fingertips of Midoriya's hand reached out to you, comforting your shoulder. "I have to do this," he continued afterwards, his voice calm. "They're after me."
Stop.
You spoke, your voice trembling before you looked into his emerald eyes, eyeing the hospital gown he wore and the bandages still present.
Just stop. Why should you have to carry this burden by yourself? We can help.
"I can't let that happen. Shigaraki, All for One, they're after me, and they'll destroy everything to get what they want."
Then what about what happened?
You spoke loudly, swiping his hand from your shoulder.
Did everyone's actions mean nothing now? All the people that we lost? All the sacrifices made? Does all of that account for nothing?
No.
Then please don't go through with this.
You pleaded, feeling the sting in the corner of your eyes and the hitch in your voice.
Stay with us.
"I'm sorry, cutie. I can't." You stared at Midoriya, his tone stern and asserted. He had already made his mind about this decision, whether he was comatose or not. And by deduction, he had already spoken to his mother about this. If she was unable to change his mind, what hope did you have that you could? With a shove of the chair, you sat up and hugged Midoriya tightly, remembering the feel of his body on yours. Warm, inviting, and kind. You couldn't care less what he was feeling now. You needed to remember this feeling. Midoriya was taken by surprise from the sudden hug, only to reciprocate with his own, his arms snaking around your back and clutching onto your head, holding you as if he never wanted to release you. His strength engulfed you. It felt like forever in this moment, something you hoped to hold on to when the inevitable time came.
What about Bakugo and Todoroki? Or Uraraka and Ida?
You questioned, still holding him close to your chest. "You don't need to worry about them," reassured Midoriya. "I'll make sure everyone else knows. I just wanted to tell you in person. You weren't there when it happened, and I wanted to be sure that you heard my decision from me, right here, in front of you." Midoriya clutched onto your frame, digging his face into your neck just as much as you were into his. You've been a great friend and a great partner, and I'm so proud of you.
But I haven't done anything,
you replied in his ear. You've been there for me in the smallest ways, but you've made the greatest impact, and this time, this is my chance to be there for you. Midoriya gently pulled you away from him, his hands on your shoulders before he lifted his pinky in the air. You stared at it confused before he linked it around your pinky, lifting it between yourselves. I'll come home to all of you, he started, bobbing the linked pinkies in between. This isn't goodbye. You watched that unassuming and calm smile across his lips before your eyes began to water. Tears flowed down your cheeks, only to be wiped away by Midoriya's fingers. He held you once again, his scarred arms grabbing a gentle hold on you, coaxing your head to lean into his shoulder. He felt his gown soaked by your tears that wouldn't cease, rubbing the square of your back soothingly while you clutched onto his arms, feeling the roughness of his scars that ran along his skin. Midoriya held on to you for as long as he could, before nurses called for the end of visiting hours. You exited the hospital while staring at your hand, your eyes sore from the tears that spilled from them earlier. You could recall his warmth against you, his skin on yours, and his pinky that wrapped around the base of your own, the feeling of it disappearing with every passing second. His words still cut through like a knife in your heart, feeling the tidal wave of emotions crash into you again. You tried to hold back the tears, feeling the soreness return, until a light caught your eye, a sudden warmth from your pinky. You stared at the brilliance of red that emerged from your hand, a vibrant string that fluttered in the air. You looked around to notice that no one else witnessed this phenomena, being met by odd glances instead until you bolted towards a quiet spot, turning into an alleyway beside the hospital. The heat persisted while you stared at the red string, watching it fray in the air until it began to sting. You hissed in pain, watching it slowly turn black, the ink transformation traveling towards your pinky.
No. No. Stop!
You cried, attempting to grab hold of this string only for your hands to pass through it.
Stop it!
Something in you felt like something was wrong. The beat of your heart fastening to the sight of this inky black contaminating whatever this light was.
Hey, babe.
Visions and voices surrounded you, trapping you by the wall of the alley to find Midoriya before your eyes. Every memory you had of him, his smile, his laugh, his tears, his pain, his voice echoed in your head, soon turning into a grating noise that wouldn't cease. The vision walked towards you, his scarred hand reaching out, and his ever-present smile, a ghostly reflection of the boy who still laid in that hospital bed.
What is this? What's going on?
You cried, holding on to yourself, frightened by the visions that refused to leave.
Stop it! Stop it!
You shut your eyes, forcing yourself to ignore that cheerful ghostly apparition before his fingers grazed against your skin.
I want to be friends again. I love you.
Izuku!
then nothing. His voice disappeared, as did the sound of the street and the noise in your head. It was quiet and calm while you felt a hand grab a hold of yours. Your pinky finger no longer stung from what strange occurrence happened moments ago, while you opened your sore and tired eyes to find someone standing before you. It wasn't Midoriya, but a woman. Her short, teal hair blowing gently in the breeze that swept through the dimly lit foyer you now found yourself in. Her hand grasped onto yours that still had that red vibrance glowing from your pinky finger. Her touch gentle. Your eyes glanced around to find a large room overgrown with roots and decorated with canopies of green. The air was fresh, while the sunlight beamed through a few holes that caved in from the rooftops.
Are you okay?
Spoke the woman.
Where am I?
You asked, your eyes darting around the broken shelves filled with books.
How did I get here?
Please, calm down. What's the last thing you remember? You stopped to think. You did just remember the alleyway, but the last thing you could recall was the feeling of Midoriya's arms around you, his voice in your ear, and the promise he made.
Izuku.
You answered. A quiet sigh of relief breathed from the woman, her gentle smile watching your reactions from the shock. Is that all? She asked again.
No. More than that.
You replied, recalling his last words to you.
I'll come home to all of you. This isn't goodbye.
The warmth of her hands engulfed yours, feeling the red string dance from your pinky finger, vibrant and lively, and growing warmer with every passing second. She turned to the string, finding it strong against the breeze, its fraying thread pulling towards a direction as if it had a mind of its own. Your job's not over, traveler. She spoke, raising your hand in hers as if in prayer. There is so much more you can achieve.
Wait. Who are you?
You asked, your senses returning, as did your confusion. You won't remember me after this. You've asked many times before, she explained, her voice tired. But be brave, just like him. You will grow stronger.
Please, just give me a name. I don't even know how I got here.
The woman was taken aback by your short outburst, only to return with a tired smile. She raised her hand onto your forehead, her fingers delicately grazing against your skin, until a warmth radiated from them.
What are you doing?
You asked, slightly panicked. You need to return back to your story. It doesn't end here. Her words were cryptic, strange, odd, and yet the atmosphere was calming. The air felt familiar, as did this woman who only smiled. A nagging feeling in the back of your head persisted, growing this familiarity with this moment that it almost irritated your understanding.
But he's made up his mind. I can't change that.
You reasoned, your thoughts falling back onto the constant you felt strongly for. No, you can't, because that's not your story. You've done enough, and you've done well. You've given each other hope and comfort, and that's the most anyone would wish for. You helped ease the end of his story without malice or contempt. But it was the end of his story, with you. And time can be cruel. It could eat away at you because of that, she explained, the light from her fingers growing blindingly bright. Now, you need to continue your path.
I don't understand.
You commented, feeling a drowsiness overcome you and your vision blurring. All in due time, she spoke, while her fingertips pressed against your forehead. But in case you do remember, my name is... The sound of the city flooded your ears while you stood in the middle of the pavement, staring at a set of double doors. It was hazy at first, as if you had a nap while standing on the street. You shook your head while your vision cleared, noticing that you were in front of the Heroes Association building. Your eyes darted in thought, wondering what you were hyperfixating over not too long ago. You were at your agency a while ago. You made the decision to arrive here, all because of...
Oh. No.
You groaned, remembering the request you were tasked to do. As a part of the agency's active sidekick bracket, you were the representative to attend an awards ceremony, seeing that you were the greatest candidate to become a full-fledged pro-hero in the ranks. You sighed, mulling over the thought. You had always held the notion to transfer to another agency if this was to occur in your career, eyeing the prospect of joining the former Night Eye agency run by Centipede. However, those double doors were becoming increasingly intimidating. Your shoulders dropped while you fought in your mind whether to actually move ahead through those doors or just wait for any other poor soul to arrive to do that for you. The nervousness you felt in your stomach fluttered around, wondering on what to do when... Hey there! Ah! You jumped out of your skin before you spotted the familiar mess of green hair that was the pro-hero Deku approaching you from the street. You breathed a sigh of relief before a bloom rushed through your cheeks. Did you just yell at the upcoming rising star of Musatafu?
Sorry. I didn't mean to scare you.
He apologized with a wry smile.
You're here for the ceremony?
Yeah. I was just...
You bit your lip, wondering what to say to save you after that loud display.
I haven't decided whether I was too early or not.
You held your composure until you noticed Deku's scrutinizing eye on you, inspecting you somehow. It felt a little odd and strange while he looked you up and down. You wondered if it was your outfit, or something on your outfit, that was the cause of this scrutiny. It was a little unnerving to watch his own mind raking. Until he smiled brightly.
Hey, aren't you the sniper sidekick?
He asked.
Yeah?
You replied, slightly concerned.
Wow, I never thought I'd see you here. This is great.
It is?
Of course. It's great to finally meet you. After a few reports in the news about some of your missions and exploits, I've been curious about your quirk and how you managed to do amazing work in the city.
The energy that radiated from the young man burst forth like a tidal wave. He was like a ball of sunshine incarnate. It made you tug a smile at your lips a little at the sight of this grown man almost acting like a child at Christmas.
I would never have guessed that the upcoming successor to All Might would be interested in something that I do.
You admitted, feeling the compliment warm your cheeks.
Are you kidding? You single-handedly took out a robbery without harming innocents and bystanders.
Continued Deku with a smile.
I was with a pro hero. They were inside while I manned the exits.
Still, to have the tactical mindset, the patience, and the aim is a talent. You shouldn't think less of it.
You stared at the man, feeling something swell inside. A sense of pride filled your heart. Aside from any reports allowed into the public, to be complimented for your work that wasn't always highlighted for sidekicks was overwhelming. More so, to be in the presence of All Might's successor was also flattering. Deku was a handsome young man, but he held a cheerful disposition amongst the press despite the scars that littered his body. That nose scar of his was prominent nowadays, as was the exhaustion in his eyes. It was evident in the photos the press took of him, but it was a given. The pro-hero lifestyle, whether sidekick or not, was a never-ending cycle.
Where are you seated in the ceremony?
Asked Deku, breaking your thoughts.
Oh, I'm in the mezzanine, at the back.
You replied.
Well, would you like to meet up during the intermission? I'd really like to know how you went about that robbery.
Your mind blanked at his offer, immediately squealing out a response in panic.
Sure! I'd love that.
Great.
Deku walked towards the double doors, grabbing hold of the handle while opening it to allow you entry first. It took a moment for you to realize his offer before you skipped a beat to move forward, smiling at the green-haired man.
Oh, by the way, it's Midoriya.
He introduced with his free hand out.
Nice to meet you, Midoriya.
You greeted back, taking his hand and shaking it in yours before the both of you entered the building.
I'll see you during the intermission.
He piped, his voice echoing in the less crowded foyer while he jogged towards the theater ahead.
This isn't goodbye.
You smiled after his retreating form before he disappeared into the building, leaving you inside the large expanse of the association's foyer. To imagine that someone like him took notice of you made your heart swell, feeling your smile grow wider at the thought. And yet, something pricked at the corner of your eyes. It was a wash of sadness that caught you off guard, rubbing them furiously with the back of your hand. You questioned where that came from, chuckling to yourself that perhaps your happiness was too overwhelming. You shook your head, filled with anticipation to speak to Midoriya again before the doors opened, revealing a small number of people arriving. Soon, heroes and sidekicks entered through the doors, mingling amongst each other in the crowd. You merged with them, joining in conversation until the theater doors opened to allow the beginning of the ceremony to start. You couldn't wait to speak with him again. Thank you for tuning in to another fanfiction reading. If you enjoy what I do or would just prefer to fall asleep to my voice, please just hit the like button, ring the bell, and subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much. I would like to extend my thanks to a to one of the listeners. Their username is Stitched Heart. I would like to thank them for posing this kind of scenario and headcanon. It's really got my creativity going in this kind of direction, but also, as a matter of fact, was to be honest, I didn't feel, I guess, chirpy for most of my week, and this was all written within like a couple of hours actually. One afternoon, that same afternoon I ended up doing the art as well, so I guess I was on a roll. But again, I'd like to extend my thanks to Stitched Heart for posing this scenario and I guess this kind of headcanon for Midoriya. I hope you all enjoyed it. I did enjoy this, and for all you lore theorists out there, I hope there's a little bit of something for you too. But other than that, I hope you enjoyed the reading, and I hope you have a wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Thank you for visiting. I hope to hear from you soon, next we meet.